Welcome,
dude.
We
Today
did
has
it,
been
America.
The best day in the history. Hey, you know what? I said something before we started, and I said America 2.0, and that's what I really truly feel right now. Is that from 1776 to 2024 has been like America the first try, right? We gave it a shot.
Sure.
Now we're starting America 2.0, and things are going to get real good. It's about to get real good. The +1 health is the only thing that actually matters in the long run, but but the wooden shield is something I like to start out with too. So
I figure that it would probably help me to play as a Fraug.
yeah,
You know, because I always fail whenever I play as Link.
yeah.
So. Anyways, I completely disagree with you.
I don't feel that way, but but it does feel really good.
Yeah, I think we're totally going back to. I think this is the first step in going back to America normal.
Yeah,
you know. I feel like we've been in America really fucked up America for a good long while.
Yeah.
I would say probably since. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it since Obama. Okay,
yeah.
America's been progressively more and more fucked up.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
Since Obama. And I think damn it, I've got some sort of reflex going on causing me to hit the wrong button.
Well, you know, I mean, America has been getting more and more fucked up, but 4 of those years were Trump years. So
yes, but the issue was not Trump. It was the rest of it was everything that was going on around Trump. It was the media stuff. It was the.
Right.
You know, I don't like the term because it's just become it's almost become meaningless.
Fake
but the
news.
wokeness stuff, you know, that was all happening during the early years of Trump.
And that
just got out of control, starting with Trump's, presidency right away.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. It wasn't. It was amped up by Trump's presidency, but it started in like 2011.
Yeah.
Is where most of the stuff that you would identify as being like the woke movement that we see today, that really kicked off in earnest in the kind of 2011, 2012 time frame. Because I was there, I saw it happen. Yeah. It's just, I'm tired of it.
Yeah,
and I think America's tired of it. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Is that this seems to signal that we're not. It's people didn't understand that it was a thing yet.
Yeah.
It took longer for the general public to understand what was going on than it did for people who are more engaged with the culture war stuff like you and me.
Right.
And so I think 2020...
So you think 2020 is a result of like the slow burn of information and like the fact that a lot of people are just disconnected from the culture? Yeah,
I think that between 2020 and 2024, a lot of key things happened that told normal people...
Oh, shit.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
you know?
So I think that you're right in that... I mean, getting Trump back in office was... like I said, it was a message. We sent a message that we're done with this woke garbage. That I feel like there's a significant anti-woke movement happening right now. Yeah. That is only going to get more and more steam now that we have proper government back in place. I've heard there are some people, some commentators that I pay attention to who have suggested that the wokeness thing might get worse again under Trump because he drives people crazy. But I don't buy it. And the reason I don't buy it, I understand why he's saying this. I agree that it's understandable to say that. Yeah. I don't buy it though, because I think
that the reason that it was so bad under Trump the first time is because the average person was oblivious to what was actually happening. And I think that what's happened now is that people are now aware of what it is.
Yeah.
And they're going, the reason it's losing favor in general out there, the reason you see that every movie, every video game is a flop, everything that is just consumed with this woke bullshit is a flop and a failure, and the general public is just rejecting it. It's because average people are aware now, and they are not interested in it, and they don't want to support it, and they're not going to want to support anything like that. And I think the issue you had originally in 2016, through 2020, is that people were. It was like a new illness, right?
Yeah.
Nobody had any immunity to it. There was no our cultural immune system had no defense against wokeness, and now the average person is aware of it. So we now have immunity to it in a way that we didn't before. So this time, certain people are going to go crazy, but your average person, the everyday person, is done with this bullshit, and because they're done with it, I don't think there's any way for it to get a foothold again. Yeah, it's cat's out of the bag.
It's been the last 4 years, I think, have been a cultural red pilling of the general populace,
right?
And people, even if they identify as liberals, are going, this ain't my Democrat Party.
Right.
And so a lot of those people may have voted for Trump. A lot of them people probably stayed at home, which may account for some of that 20 million votes that didn't show up.
Yeah.
And then some other people may have, wanted to vote for RFK but couldn't bring themselves to vote for Trump or whatever. But I feel like you are. That is the right thought track, mind track, whatever, that we are in this cultural red pilling of the masses, that people are finally waking up to the fact that this is insanity. Go and open them all, man. I mean, what do you...
You think there's going to be a curse in here?
Yeah, there's not a key in one of them. We know that.
Banana. Banana.
Seems pretty... okay.
It's a gift. It was a gift. I wonder if there's anything down here.
But just the fact that it was a landslide in both the electoral and
what's that?
That's the revival pendant, I think. Brings you back to life if you die once. It's a pretty good thing to have.
That seems useful to me. I got a lot of money. What's this? Which staff is that?
Ice one, I think. Just freezes guys. I would go. I mean, if you want the safety, I'd go with the pendant.
I want the safety. I also want that hamburger, but I'm not gonna buy it because I want to hold on to some rupees in case there's another shop.
Bro, I hate to be the bearer of I'm not sure what kind of news, but check that pendant because it said pendant of immunity. I thought it was the revival one. That's the curse blocking one. Ah, shit. Well, you can open all chests without worrying about it.
True.
Sorry, bro. I don't remember the shapes very well, I guess.
That's okay. This run's not going anywhere anyway.
It's not bad. It's not a bad run. What do you mean?
Nah, I'm fucking up big time. I'm not in the game. Okay, I'm not. My head's not in the game here.
Oh, hey, there's the guy I want you to talk to. We finally ran into him after 7 runs.
Nice.
Keep going. You can talk to him again. One more. There you go.
Sweet. You got anything else for me?
Nah. It's a pretty self-aware game though. He knows he's going to Nintendo jail.
Right. Well, that's the problem is though, you don't go to Nintendo jail. What happens is that the Nintendo Nazi ninjas come and they literally disappear you out of existence.
Yeah.
You no longer exist. many such cases.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's a very positive sign that we...
Why is that not a sword I can pick up?
There is definitely a bomb on the wall down there, though. I think it's a very, very positive sign of the direction that we're going, that we so thoroughly mopped the floor.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like we didn't squeak out a victory by the skin of our teeth because 5 liberals didn't show up. It was like it was a decisive victory.
Right.
You need them gloves, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Which is exactly what I was expecting and hoping for. 312 has been the number for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And I think, unless they still haven't called freaking Nevada and Arizona.
I don't know what the deal is with Nevada.
They haven't, but when they call Nevada and Arizona, it will be 312. That'll be the number.
Yeah.
I wonder what Polymarket's saying about
about the chances of Kamala.
Oh, it's 100% now for Trump.
Ah, dang.
We should throw some money on Kamala.
She could still come out, dark horse candidate, come out of nowhere.
Dude, I stressed about this graph for so long, and now look, they're just...
Yeah. Yep.
There's a 99-1 odds on Arizona if you want to take those odds.
Oh, yeah? Those seems like some odds.
If this is not revealing as hell, look at this. Popular vote winner Trump, 100%. Obama, 0.
What?
They know who's pulling the strings.
Wow.
Obama, what? Why did they put that?
I don't know. Pretty suspicious. What do they know?
Really
that we don't know?
They know something that we don't know.
Fuck.
I don't know if that's somebody trolling or what, but that definitely. I think that's intentional.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I told you a couple of weeks ago that I thought he had the popular vote, and
yeah.
Here we are.
Here we are, and by 5 million. And you know, it's so crazy to me that it's held steady at that 5 million too.
Yeah.
Because you remember, like at one point last night, it was like 45 million to 50 million.
Right.
Then it was 50 to 55. Then it was 60 to 65. Now it's 70 to 75. It's like it's been holding steady at that 5 million lead this entire time.
Right. Yeah.
God damn it.
There you go.
Hey, it'd be really cool if that was the right pendant.
It really would have been cool. Chat's not working. I'm gonna take a look here and see why that is. You know, I really don't enjoy the Restream plugin for OBS. It's super buggy. Let's see, where is that? And
wait a minute, I can't play as Frog. I don't know how he works as a character.
Does he work differently? Wait, where the hell is the chat box? Let's see. Oh, docs, chat. There we go.
Don't dox chat.
There we go. Chat has been doxed.
God damn it. Sorry, guys.
Well, there's no one in chat, so it's fine. They'll never know.
Guess we can dox nobody, huh?
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't want that shit.
Yeah, I think we're in a great position here. I think that America is gonna be all right.
You know, my kids are very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love my kids.
Yeah, that's good.
They have such a grasp on what's going on.
Yeah.
And they're so based, man. Like, I've never told them what to think or believe. I've laid out the facts for them.
Yeah.
And it's just logical shit. It's just logical.
Mm-hmm.
So they're logical kids, and they understand why one thing is, you know, correct and one thing is wackadoo, right?
Right.
I've never swayed them in one way or the other. They know how I feel, but that doesn't, you know, I've told them, hey, I want you to have reasons to back up what you believe.
Right.
I want you to have, like, your facts straight so that whenever somebody challenges you on it, you have something to back it up.
Right.
And you're not just saying, well, like any Kamala voter, what do you like about her policies? Well, she's a woman. Okay, but what
she's
do you
not
like?
Trump.
She's not Donald Trump. You know, okay, name 3 things about Kamala Harris that you know that's gonna. Well, Donald Trump, he's orange and he's bad and he's racist.
He's Cheeto Hitler.
Yeah. Okay. Well, name 3. Name 1 reason why Donald Trump's racist.
Mm.
Well, 'cause he hates immigrants. Well, no, no, he doesn't. Well, he said that very fine people on both sides. No, it's not exactly accurate. Not 100%. They have nothing. They got nothing whenever you ask them.
Yeah.
And I told my kids, I said, hey, look, you know, I don't expect you to believe everything that I say about the man.
Mm-hmm.
I will show you if you have questions about things that I say. Because they run into this at school, you know, that people will say a Donald Trump lie
Uh-huh.
to my kids, and I'll have to explain how that is a lie.
Yeah.
By showing them video footage and, you know,
Right.
and actually, like, I mean, I've got a playlist on my phone, on my YouTube app, just for that reason. I've got a playlist of actual Donald Trump quotes that get misquoted.
Yeah.
So that when somebody says this, the very fine people or the bloodbath or the whatever, I have the video evidence there for them.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand, Jeremy. If you show them the video evidence, then they'll know the truth. They'll know the truth that Donald Trump did say those things, and right. I don't understand how this works in your favor. How does this work for you?
Yeah, they'll know the truth. That he said that they took something out of context and twisted it to make it sound awful. And
yeah,
you know, it's just disgraceful that they can continue, even after the man's been elected, to spout these lies, the same old tired ass talking points. You know, the nation has Hitlerian fatigue, man. They have fascism fatigue.
Yeah.
You cannot state enough that Donald Trump is a fascist and make anybody give 2 shits about it anymore.
Right.
Because you've cried wolf so... Uh-oh.
Really?
Because
really?
You continue to cry wolf and people are over it, man. Hope this guy doesn't kill me right now. Okay.
He somehow doesn't know you're
No,
there.
apparently not. Maybe if you're in the doorway, you can't be detected.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's just people eventually people get tired of hearing the same thing, and it stops being effective.
Yeah, it does, and
I think that's where we're at.
It's like, oh my God, the October surprise is that somebody said Donald Trump is like Hitler. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Dude,
is that really?
I've never heard that one before.
That you've got. And like today on the View, that's what I was watching. That's what I was relishing. I just could not wait to see these cackling hens at the View.
Yeah.
And they were on about the fucking dictator on day one, and you know.
Yes, I remember.
Good God! Like, do you think that? Here's the thing. Do you think America is that stupid? Yes, you do think that. Why has my button layout changed all of a sudden? What? The menu is now this button for some reason.
Probably because... Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it connected wired instead of wireless, which fucked up the layout.
Okay.
So you had to... we had to unplug it, turn it on so it would reconnect wirelessly, then plug it in so it's just charging and not trying to actually be connected over USB.
God, what was I saying? Dictator on day one. It's. Do you think what I was saying is? Do you think the American public is that stupid?
Well, no.
And the answer is that they do think that the American public is that stupid, and still think that, even though they have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're not.
Right. Well, it's weird because if you look at the exit polling stuff that's coming out
Democracy.
now, the people who voted, I mean, the breakdown's like, it's like 51% of women voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Like,
right. Well, the thing is,
the big argument is that it's women's rights were the thing that Donald Trump's going to usher in the end of women's rights, and it's like, but the majority of women voted for him.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
What does this mean?
Here's the thing. I think that it's very obvious that legacy media is just done. Independent media dominates.
Yeah.
And nobody cares. The thing is, they rattled off these boy that cried wolf bullshits for 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
And nobody is listening anymore.
Right. What are the ratings for The View?
Oh, I don't know.
Have they gone down?
I mean, like childless cat ladies and sad wine moms. That's literally it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I did see a segment, because, I've been watching some coverage here and there, but I did see a segment from Joe Scarborough where he did say some pretty solid things that I fully agree with. He said, hey, look, the Democrats actually, we really need to reassess what we're doing here, because obviously a lot of the things we think we know, we don't know.
Yeah.
Because we're wrong, because we're losing.
Well, and
he said they need to rethink the all the stuff about race and all the stuff about the sexism and the transgender stuff and all that. We need to rethink all of that, because obviously that does not move the electorate. And he was talking about how he knows people he's got friends who are liberal people whose children are concerned about being canceled for saying anything even slightly out of line. And it's like, well, okay, obviously
y'all did this.
Yes, and it is interesting to hear him say that, because he's up until today, he's been completely lips zipped. He's mum's the word on actually addressing, like, talking out about any of this stuff, but he's talking about stuff. He was talking
Kamala
about
had a chance to win yesterday.
He was talking about conversations that he has had with his friends over the past 4 years.
Joe Scarborough,
and he won't say anything about it until now.
Joe Scarborough is the cringiest hack of all time. I've never seen a person.
Well, he's a Republican, so
that I want to punch in the fucking face more than Joe Scarborough.
Uh-huh.
And my God, that when I think of Joe Scarborough, the only thing I think of is cogent. Oh, he is more than cogent. This is the best Joe Biden we have ever seen. Yeah. Are you fucking, like, a week, literally a week before they ousted him?
Yes,
like, are you kidding me,
yes,
Joe?
I get it. Look, I understand. But I'm just saying that I think it is meaningful that you have people like him talking realistically about the Democrats and what's wrong with them right now.
Yeah.
Because he could easily have just gone the same route that, I'm sure Rachel Maddow and people like them are going to go, where you just say, oh, it was just racism.
It's just racism.
Just double down on the country is racist and sexist. And it's like, Well, obviously that's not true, because the majority, because this is an interesting data point. In the swing states, I saw some breakdown of exit polls in the swing states, and Hispanic males voted like overwhelmingly, like 57% for Trump in the swing states specifically.
That's crazy.
And so it's like...
So why didn't we get New Mexico, man? I really wish we had got New Mexico. That would have been cool.
I don't know. We didn't do as well with the Hispanic female vote. It was like 39%, I think, was the Hispanic female vote. But the Hispanic male vote was like incredible.
Yeah.
In the swing states. Now overall, I think it was like 45% or something.
I'm curious to see how the black vote shook out, because I was really hopeful for the black vote.
23% is what I saw.
That's good.
For the black male vote. But for the female vote, it was like 9%.
Okay. Well, that shakes out to about the 18 that they expected then, right?
Quite, I don't know, because the black female vote is much higher than the black male vote.
Okay.
Participation is higher. I think it was like 6% of all voters were black males, and like 9% were black female or something.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It was the female vote was higher than the male vote in the black community. Well, to be fair, I think the female vote was actually higher across all demographics, because that typically is how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, like the racism, the sexism, all these claims are obvious bullshit, because the electorate proved out.
Right.
Well, at least the electorate doesn't buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and that's the thing. I can't wait. I can't wait for legacy media to just go down in flames. Like, there will be a time, in the not too distant future, where all of the old people who watch cable TV have died out.
Right.
And the YouTube generation is the only thing that's left.
Yeah.
And that's when we win. Like, that's when we win.
I mean, that the YouTube generation is the one that we did the best with in terms of demographics. The males, it was males under 40 was the best demographic for Trump.
Yeah.
He won that demographic specifically overwhelmingly.
We do have idiots like Destiny out there that are not.
Oh, of course,
matters,
yeah. But I mean, look, you're gonna have idiots like Destiny, but.
But as far as like independent media, it's like overwhelmingly not just conservative, but like centrist or somewhat right leaning. Yeah. And it's always been that way. It's been that way with radio, Rush Limbaugh, and all that stuff. Like the outlier media has always been conservative. Yeah. And now it just so happens that the independent media is now becoming the predominant way people get their news. Yeah. And it's great. It's good.
Yeah, specifically on the topic of guys like Destiny and Hassan Piker and stuff like that. Yeah. The funny thing, though, is that these guys, they have no credibility. Like Destiny, this is a crazy thing about Destiny.
How does Destiny have a following? He's insane.
It's funny. Earlier, well, maybe not earlier this year, late last year, I think. Destiny was on this arc like last year, where he was like kind of moderated a little bit, and he was talking to conservatives, and he was actually having conversations that were not entirely like bad faith with conservatives. Right. And then just all of a sudden, he 100% went like as hard as he could in the opposite direction and completely lost. There was a brief period of time last year where I thought, maybe Destiny's all right. Maybe he's kind of grown out of his, bullshit phase that he was in for most of his career that I've known of him. Mm-hmm. And maybe he's moderating into somebody more reasonable who can actually understand the conservative perspective and doesn't just reflexively assume that conservatives are just evil and that's the explanation. But it turns out that no, that was all just an act. He was just bullshitting to try to gain audience.
Yeah.
The whole point was to try to gain conservative people in his audience so that he could convert them over to leftism. And that he even admitted that. He said, the reason I talk to conservatives is not because I have any respect for them at all as human beings. It's because I think if I talk to them, I can convert them over to my side. And I thought, okay, well, all credibility that you had is lost.
Gone.
You completely lost it. You were actually building credibility.
It's bad faith. It's like why can't we sit down with people who we disagree with and have civil discourse?
Well, we could. Yeah. We could. But they don't wanna. They wanna use any chance that they can to try to gain an upper hand.
So I want to go back and kind of revise what I was saying about The View earlier, and I said that I was kind of pleasantly surprised with the fact that instead of calling for mass execution of all your friends and family at the dinner table at Thanksgiving, that they were actually a couple of them were saying, hey, we can still be civil with each other.
We can still be family.
Yeah. But just literally days before, they were calling us literal garbage. And I'm not talking about Joe Biden. I'm talking about the lady on The View. The one that said that was saying like, Donald Trump's the garbage and we're going to take him out on election day. And then J.D. Vance says the same thing about Kamala and it's the end of the world or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I saw Jenks after I talked to you today about Jenk. I saw his epic meltdown.
Yeah.
What a tool, man.
He's just... Listen, I don't hate the guy, okay?
Oh, I don't hate the guy.
I just think he's a fool.
I think you were very accurate when you said he's so emotionally charged. He's just like you can see his face turning red, and
yes, he has no capacity for reason.
I didn't see Anna in the election, like in the clips that I saw. Was she not there?
I don't know. Anna was doing a bunch of different shows throughout the day, so I don't know. She might have been. I would assume she was probably on TYT for some part of it, but she did. Anna went on Daily Wire for part of this show.
Did she really?
She went. Yeah, she went on.
Missed her, I guess.
She went on the Free Press. She went on, and I haven't watched the Daily Wire segment or the Free Press segment, but apparently those were good from what I heard.
Yeah.
She was also on Sitch and Adam in the morning of election.
I just have to assume that Anna is not melting down right now.
No, she's not.
Probably just doing fine.
She was hanging out in the Sitch and Adam chat today for the stream that they did earlier today.
Yeah.
And she seemed perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Seemed perfectly level-headed.
She should just join Sitch and Adam and leave the Young Turks.
No, Sitch and Adam are way too small. They only have 50,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
They actually punch way above their weight class. They have people on all the time that are huge people.
Well, then why don't they have a bigger following?
I don't know.
They got the clout. Why don't they get the bigger following?
I don't know. It's weird. The streams are always...
Is it strictly a political podcast, or they talk about other
It's
bullshit?
Almost completely a political podcast.
Is it?
Almost. I don't know. It's always baffled me that their following isn't any bigger, but I've watched them since they were probably, I don't know, around 30,000 subscribers, and that I've been watching them for like 5.5 years, 6 years almost. And they've inched their way up to 50,000.
That's crazy, man.
But they know everybody.
That's wild that they have such a big data base to draw from.
Yeah, they've had Destiny on and had debates with Destiny, which Destiny and his entire crew absolutely fucking hate Sitch and Adam. They hate them.
Yeah, because they're level-headed people.
Yes, they hate them so much. They got such a hate boner. It's all that anytime they can pull up anything that they can use in the DGG subreddit and stuff to complain about Sitch and Adam, they'll do it.
Yeah,
they're just unhinged. But anyways, it is wild how much Sitch and Adams and their streams get great viewership. Like, it's usually a couple thousand people viewing at any given time. They get tons of super chats. Like, they are very successful, but it's not in subscriber count. Their subscriber count is still tiny.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've
oh fuck.
Nice. That was a solid use
well,
of...
it didn't go anywhere.
Fire orb. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't about to try to focus that down.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, no, Anna, no, they wouldn't be able to have her as an employee,
I realize that now, but the fact that she's there so much is
she hangs out in the chat. She's there a lot of episodes just watching. She's just a viewer, to be honest.
That's cool.
With you.
that they have a fan that's that big.
I know. But we chat. We'll get when she's in the chat, everybody freaks out. Like the whole chat is always like going crazy talking to Anna.
I mean, I do have a low-key crush on Anna Kasparian. She's pretty cute. Gotta be honest.
Yes, she is, and I like her. I think that
I like her too.
I think she used to be. I think she used to be just. I think she used to just be unhinged.
I think that she was unhinged due to low information.
Yes, I agree. I completely agree. That she used to be unhinged because she simply did not know much
but does
about
that
the world.
Not like does that I mean I guess it is doing that with her, but like slowly, goddamn, like very slowly, does that not completely upend your entire worldview when you realize, oh, I was wrong about this and this and this and this and this and this?
Well, I think it has upended almost her entire worldview. Now, she's not a conservative, and I don't expect her to be a conservative, but she's changed her stance on crime. She's changed her stance on a lot of stuff about transgenderism, not the actual, like... Ultimately, she still supports trans people and doesn't want to do anything involving taking away any of their rights or their ability to access the health care
to
that
be
they
fair,
need to.
like,
But
I'm not for taking those things away from fully grown adults who decide to.
No, me neither. But I'm just saying that she has arrived at the moderate position on this, which is that she thinks that they have a right to exist and that we shouldn't be taking away people's rights as adults, but she's totally against transitioning minors. She's totally against trans people in sports.
Right.
Like she's got the moderate position on this stuff now, whereas she didn't before.
Right.
So I do think her worldview has been upended, but she's still a liberal. She still has liberal moral foundations.
Sure.
So all of her radical positions have been destroyed by knowledge, but her moral intuitions that drive her are still liberal. So she's still going to have liberal positions.
Well, she got most of the way there. And look, I don't expect her to ever get all the way there, wherever there is, because that's not who she is. She's not a conservative. Right.
And to be honest with you, I fully believe, having read Jonathan Haidt, having read about moral foundations theory, I'm 100% on board with the idea that people are just born conservative or liberal or somewhere in between, and that no amount of information can change fundamentally what your moral intuitions are. Your moral intuitions are like the knee-jerk thing that happens in your gut whenever you see something that tells you how you feel about it. And you can logic your way out of some things, but ultimately, deep down in your gut, there is a firmly rooted moral intuition that will trigger a response in you when you encounter something. Right?
Yeah, hang on just a second. I gotta think for a second what I want to do here. I have often thought, like, why am I conservative, right? Like, why am I a conservative person? It's like, obviously, I've immersed myself in conservative material for, like, all of my life. Dad was staunchly conservative. I grew up, but, I mean, my own dad was liberal. Yeah, I would call him liberal at the time. He was for abortion. He was for things that I didn't agree with, and it's like, but why was that my stance? Like, I had both arguments presented to me. I would say Dad was probably better at presenting the conservative argument to me than my dad was presenting the Democrat argument to me. But that being said, I don't think that Dad's influence has anything to do with why I'm conservative now. I've had lots of life experience. I've had lots of time to change my views. I went to college. I hung out with college kids, albeit an Arkansas college, but still a college.
Yeah.
I had liberal ideas crammed down my throat. And none of that, I've been steadfast, like rock steady in my conservative worldview.
Right.
Nothing has swayed me from that, and so I agree with you to an extent. I do see where you're coming from, and there will be things that an Anna Kasparian will never ever change her view on, simply because that is her worldview, and I
because she doesn't have conservative moral foundations.
Right.
And that's you just can't. There's nothing you can do about it, but. That's okay. The important thing is not that everybody becomes a conservative. That's not the objective, because that's not even that's not even good. That's not even good for society, for everybody to becomes conservative. It's easy to say as a conservative that everything would be better if if everybody was a conservative. But that is obviously not true, because even though the liberals get a ton of stuff wrong all the time, they do get stuff right periodically.
Have to have checks
and when
and
they
balances.
do get stuff right, and we as conservatives acknowledge that those things are that they got something right, then conservatives' job is to conserve the new thing that we found that was right.
Right.
But you need the liberals to go find it. And they're going to be wrong most of the time, because most of the things that you do, period, are probably going to be wrong whenever you're just guessing and trying something new, right?
Right.
So you need liberals, you need conservatives both to have a functioning society, because conservatives are the ones who keep things safe, right?
Right.
The things that we know that are good, that we've tried and they were successful, conservatives are the ones that maintain that, right?
Yeah.
And liberals are the ones that want to cast that to the wind and go off and do something else. And you need to cast some things to the wind every now and then and try something else to learn new things.
Do you remember where I dropped that red kinstone?
You dropped that red kinstone.
I swear it was like right around here.
Well, but I think you picked it back up, didn't you?
Well, I don't have it now, and I used the green. I dropped it so I could
gym bag.
Oh fuck yeah, you're right. It's in my gym bag. I just bought the gym bag.
Yeah.
I was going to collect it because I just bought the gym bag, but I didn't realize I had it already.
No, you got the green one. You got your gemstone. You did the thing. You fused the thing and stuff, and then I think you went and picked it right back up.
Okay. All right, I'm just an idiot. All right, let's go. Do I want this 3 sodas? That's a deal right there.
That's $45.
I think I want the power thirst, man.
Nice. Whenever I'm thirsty, what I can really go for is a power thirst.
Yeah.
It's like saltwater drink.
Right. It just makes you more thirsty, so you consume more of it.
Whenever I'm feeling very quenched, I like to chug a power thirst, to really get my thirst going.
God, I'm so quenched right now. I need to be thirsty.
Anyways, one thing that is interesting about this conversation that we're having about moral foundations is that a lot of people who are raised conservative and then go off the reservation whenever they go into college and stuff. That's people who have liberal moral foundations, but who were raised in a conservative environment where the only thing that they knew was the conservative stuff. So they didn't. So as soon as they're introduced to these concepts that sit well with their moral foundations, all of a sudden they just go completely off the deep end.
Right.
Because, you think about it, it is, if it's the knowledge of the information that makes the person's opinions, then it doesn't make any sense that somebody would have a conservative upbringing, a deeply ingrained conservative beliefs, and then just throw them all away as soon as they get to college. It's something more fundamental about you.
I've always thought of it as not that they had deeply ingrained conservative beliefs and then they threw them all away. I've always thought of it as like, they had conservatism / Christianity / whatever else crammed down their throat with no option for anything else. basically, you know.
Yeah, but a lot of the people...
And they never were able, like I'm trying to do with my kids, and have them, like, understand objectively certain things. They were just told what to believe. And I kind of feel like that's what we had as kids. I didn't have any option but to consume, you know, conservative talking points and media and things like that, and Dad's point of view. Like, he didn't present it to me as an objective, like, you know, from the standpoint of, like, objectivity and, like, you know, you look at this, does this make common sense to you?
Right.
It was more just like, this is right, this is wrong, this is the way we believe. And I just happened to not reject that at any point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other people might, like a certain sister that we know.
Well, I would say that, like, for what you're talking about there, I think that everything just kind of made sense to me, which tracks with moral foundations theory. Because if I have conservative moral foundations, then you don't need to explain to me why the conservative thing makes sense. It intuitively makes sense to me, because that's how my moral intuitions work. So whenever I'm presented with something, then my gut intuition tells me what I feel about that thing. Yeah. So the explanation is not needed. Now, you can break it down with an explanation, but that's just going to confirm the knowledge that I already have from my gut, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, that makes sense. And I think we're coming to the same conclusion, which is that people who have a liberal moral foundation, when conservatism's crammed down their throat, don't know anything else until they get to somewhere.
Yeah, that's kind of
and then they go, oh,
then they go
this is what I've been missing
because
all my life.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why you get the pastor's daughter who becomes a total whore or whatever.
Right.
Know? Because whenever they get that first taste of the thing that they've never had that totally works, that totally, like, clicks with their moral foundations, they just go buck wild, you know?
So then the question as a parent becomes, how do I foster, you know, a healthy respect for conservatism in my kids without, you know, one of them who may have a liberal moral center, or what do you call it? What is it called?
Moral foundations.
Moral foundation.
Or moral intuitions. I mean, moral foundations is the theory. Moral intuitions is the model that they use to...
Fucking hell. Oh, my God. Well, I lost, like, half my shit, so... I lost this. I lost like 40 rupees. God damn it. That sucked.
Yeah, I hate those guys.
I lost the magic, which I don't guess I really need the magic too much. I need to start using this rod though. As a parent, you know, you gotta think about, like, how do you foster a healthy relationship with conservatism with a child who may have a liberal I don't feel like either of my kids kind of fit that bill, because I have presented both sides and they both seem pretty based in conservatism.
Right.
But, you know,
well, I would assume,
how do you keep the kid from going off? How do you keep a healthy balance and keep the kid from going off the reservation while at the same time outlining your values and morals and how you present?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that you can, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that there's a way to discuss things where you don't demonize liberalism or anything. Like, you can present it in a way that says, well, this is why, you know, some people think this way, this is why we think this way. I mean, I think, honestly, the explaining of the logic is probably the best way to do it, because even if somebody's moral foundations don't align with conservatism, if your kids' moral foundations don't align with conservatism, at least if they have the explanations in their mind for why that you believe the way that you do, they're going to have they're going to be equipped in some way to cope with whenever it is that they figure out what they actually believe, right?
Yeah.
The issue that you run into whenever you are raised in a strict conservative environment, but you have more liberal moral intuitions, and then you get out in the world, is that you suddenly feel like you've been freed of the oppression of all of your life, right? So I think the important thing is probably to not make the conservatism feel like it's oppression, right?
Yeah.
To make it feel like it's a reasonable thing, right?
Right.
And so if you end up disagreeing,
I think that may be.
If you end up disagreeing, then it just becomes a disagreement of feelings, right? It doesn't become like a "you harmed me" kind of thing, right?
Well, like
you crushed my soul, and now I hate you.
Let's look at it from like the standpoint of the Reeves family, right? You know, my buddy.
Yeah, doxing your friends. I get it.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of Reeves out there, man.
I know.
So
you could have just said first name, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, you don't. Then nobody knows if that's a real name. You don't even know if that's the real name. I could be talking about the Brown family.
That's true. Well, okay, about the Browns.
So anyway, you know that obviously that was a very staunchly conservative household.
Yeah.
5 children. Every one of them has gone off the reservation.
Yeah.
Every single one. And it's like, so did every one of them, from a conservative mother and father, were they all born with a liberal I keep forgetting the term.
Moral intuitions.
Moral intuitions. Is that do you think that's 100%, or do you think a lot of times it is like rebellion, or do you think it's indoctrination in certain, you know, they're all very highly educated kids. Mm-hmm. You know, they were at least a couple of them are like career students, you know? Yeah. And I think indoctrination does have a lot to do with like people like that, you know? But it could be a case, or there could be the case for maybe it's moral intuition a lot of the time, but not 100%.
Well, so it's... Oh, you need that.
Yeah.
Is that Pepsi?
God damn it. No, it's Beppis.
Looks like Pepsi to me.
Oh no, my hearts are gonna drain to 2 hearts. What am I gonna do?
I feel like you're not in too much danger there. Let me think here. What does Jonathan Haidt say? They did these studies. They did these studies in a bunch of different cultures, like super conservative cultures. Mm-hmm. They would go over to like India. They'd go over to wherever, all these different places that have like really, really conservative, tradition-oriented cultures, and they do all these moral intuition studies where they would ask these series of questions, and they would construct basically construct some percentages and stuff on these where people fall on these moral intuitions, right? Yeah. And they found that even in predominantly conservative societies, there was a certain contingent of people who just didn't align at all with the moral system in these highly top-down conservative places, right? And so it's like, even if all of society is structured around this extremely conservative kind of mindset, there were still people who just totally rejected the society that they lived in. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't seem like that it's necessarily has anything to do with genetics. I think it's just some people, like, your brain's set up a certain way whenever you're initially developing, and that brain chemistry has a profound effect on how your moral intuitions shake out. Right. And I don't think it has much to do with upbringing. Yeah. I think that the way that you're brought up can make it worse, better or worse.
So a lot of like, let's say, wokeism and like what I just kind of describe as neoliberalism, which I don't know if that's even a correct term.
That's just completely the wrong term. Neoliberalism is all about economics, and it's basically Reagan.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway,
it's the trickle down.
Gotcha.
The outsourcing stuff to elsewhere. Well, Reagan. So it's the Reagan / Clinton.
wokeism, I would attribute a lot of that just to pure ignorance.
Yeah, what you're talking about is leftism.
Leftism, there you go.
Yeah.
Pure ignorance, just ignorance of the way the world works.
I would say it's a combination of ignorance. I would say it's a combination of ignorance and liberal moral intuitions. Because here's the thing. Part of the moral intuition, or part of the one of the studies they did for The Righteous Mind, the book that goes through all this stuff, they did a study where they got a bunch of people who were conservative on their moral intuition testing, and they got a bunch of people who were liberal on their moral intuition testing, and they gave them a prompt they gave them a bunch of scenarios, and they asked them to answer the questions in the way that they thought that the opposite type of person would answer it. So they would say, you're a conservative, you score high on the conservative moral intuitions, moral foundations, right?
Right.
So answer this series of questions the way that you think that a liberal would answer them. And then they also did the same study with liberals. They would have this group of liberals that had scored highly in the liberal moral foundations.
Yeah.
And then they would ask them a bunch of questions and say, answer these questions like you think the conservatives would. And what they found was that the conservatives could accurately answer the questions as liberals, but the liberals could not even remotely closely answer the questions as conservatives. And it's because the liberal moral foundations are just they break down the moral foundations.
Conservatism doesn't compute with them?
It's not that specifically. I mean, yes, the effect of it is that liberals are less able to understand conservatism than conservatives are able to understand liberalism.
Yeah.
But the reason for it is because they have the moral foundations break down. The moral foundations are not like conservative liberal. The moral foundations are a set of things that they identify as being values that one or the other group has more of or less of, right?
Yeah.
So they've got like the fairness cheating foundation. They've got like gosh, it's been a long time since I read the book. There's the Fairness Cheating Foundation. There's the Liberty Oppression Foundation. There's the Sanctity Degradation Foundation. There is the what is it? There's like a counter. There's like a there's a counterpart to fairness cheating that's proportionality. I can't remember what that one is. It's like a fairness cheating, and the other one that's about proportionality are like both in the fairness area, but they had to construct a separate foundation for this one because they found that the understanding of the concept of fairness is different between conservatives and liberals, and that fair doesn't mean the same thing to both groups.
Right.
So,
obviously, yeah.
So fairness cheating is more about like, it's a more outcome oriented understanding of fairness. Like, two people don't have exactly the same thing. That's not fair, right?
Equality.
Yes, and then the proportion. I can't remember what the actual term is, but it's something about proportionality. That one is the one that conservatives identify as fairness more, which is that effectively the outcome is proportional to the input type of fairness, right? Right. Actual fairness instead of the fake one.
Is, yes.
But anyway, when they originally constructed the moral foundations that they did the original testing off of, their concept of fairness cheating was the Fairness Cheating Foundation, which was the liberal version of it, because they're liberals. The people who wrote this book are liberals, so they had their own biases that they didn't factor in.
Well, that means that they can't understand conservatism enough to write a book about it.
No, Jonathan Haidt. No, listen. Jonathan Haidt he's a smart dude. Okay, and his book it's a really good book. And his book is all about how he learned to understand conservatives, and because his whole thing was he's a moral psychology. He's a moral psychology doctorate in moral psychology, right?
Yeah.
And his whole early, his original thesis and stuff was all based on the different moral systems that existed in these other cultures. He would go out on these expeditions into these, all over the place in these cultures in Africa and wherever.
Yeah.
And he was trying to construct his model to understand different forms of morality, different systems of morality. And anyways, the point is, it's a good book, but the point is that you have these moral foundations which describe specific kind of moral concepts, right? Mm-hmm. And then conservatives are able to understand, this, and this. They're more focused on these different moral foundations, and then liberals are more focused on these moral foundations.
Yeah.
But what the studies show is that conservatives care about all of the moral foundations almost equally.
Yeah.
So all the different moral foundations, fairness, cheating, sanctity, degradation, proportionality, all of them. Conservatives are almost even across the board, whereas liberty, oppression, all that sort of stuff. Liberals care about almost exclusively liberty, oppression, fairness, cheating. They have almost no sanctity, degradation, no loyalty, betrayal. That's the other one, loyalty, betrayal.
Okay.
They have almost no loyalty, betrayal foundations, almost no proportionality. What's that? Never heard of it.
Yeah.
But that's one of the key defining features of conservatives versus liberals, and the reason conservatives can answer liberal questions better, at least the reason that he hypothesizes in the book, is that because conservatives have a more even understanding of all the moral foundations, they identify with all of them, they can construct an argument for the liberals even though they don't agree with it, because they do understand where they're coming from. So
wouldn't you say that, like, being liberal is somewhat
it's a handicap.
Narcissistic, almost?
It's a handicap. It's definitely it's a weakness.
It is a weakness, and it's like, and if you are like, that's almost like, well, that's what I was getting at with narcissism. It's like you don't care about loyalty as much. You don't care about like that. I mean, that's just general human interaction,
Yeah, but they can't help it. It's what they are. I mean, it's how their brains work.
So does he conclude that it is a handicap, and that's?
No, he doesn't make any. He doesn't make any particular claims. Listen, the book is not about dunking on liberals.
No.
Okay?
I don't assume that
the book is about what the book is about is trying to teach different. The book is really for liberals, but it's very insightful as a conservative because it makes sense in a way that's intuitive to me as a conservative. I already understand all of these arguments, but it puts it into words that are very clear, because I've always understood that I can identify the liberal argument and just understand why, and I just know why I disagree with it.
Yeah.
But I've always noticed that it seems like liberals are incapable of understanding the argument. And whenever I was younger, I thought the reason that they didn't understand the argument was not because they didn't understand it. I thought they were playing dumb.
Yeah.
I always felt like I was being lied to.
That's why it's like, that's why it's so infuriating to try to argue with a liberal. Oh, God.
Right.
Wow, you know what? This guy could save the world. Is he alive?
Book,
is he like when did this happen? When did this book
Jonathan Haidt? He's around. He just released a new book this year.
Does he go on shows and like talk about how we could literally all get along if we just understood each other better?
No, why? I mean that is the point of his book.
Good God,
he wrote it.
This is a revelation. Like, I need to read this book.
You should read it, dude. I told you to read The Righteous Mind like years ago, but you just didn't. You didn't listen to me. You were like, "What a book recommendations?"
Righteous Mind, fucking please.
But The Righteous Mind is fantastic. He wrote it for liberals primarily because he is a liberal.
Yeah.
But he had to do all of this work as a moral psychologist for his studies to construct this theory so that it made him able to understand the conservative perspective better.
Yeah. And
his whole point, the reason he wrote the book, was so that he could construct arguments to help people understand each other better.
Yeah.
That was his whole purpose for The Righteous Mind. That's what the book is. That's the point of the book, is to help people to understand each other.
Yeah. Well, it's a good cause. I mean,
and it's a great book. I recommend it to everybody. I think that every liberal should read The Righteous Mind.
Yeah.
Conservatives don't need to read it, but you should still read it.
Yeah.
But you don't need to, because you already understand.
You already understand.
You don't understand it necessarily. You may not understand it in clear, concise terms, but you do understand it already. Yeah. But I think it's extremely interesting, which I think that's the reason I think conservatives should read it, is just because it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. But yeah, it's good stuff, and but it does help to explain why liberals are so why it's often feels like talking to a brick wall, right?
Yeah. I mean, it almost seems like it would give me a little bit of empathy for liberals to read that book.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you should read it. But
I mean, I'm so small-minded. It's like I just think these people are complete morons. But
they're not morons. I mean, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But it isn't that they're morons. It's just that their moral system is so
compromised.
So their moral system is so thin that they can't really. It's much harder. Now, let me be clear here. It's not that they can't understand conservatives. It's that it's way harder for them to understand conservatives. Right. So part of the point of the book of The Righteous Mind was that he wanted liberals to read it so that they could understand conservatives better. But he also does want conservatives to read it because he wants conservatives to be able to construct arguments in a way that is more that can be received better by liberals too.
Right. Well, I feel like, I mean, you said that conservatives don't need to read it or whatever because you already understand. You don't know that you understand what you understand. I think that just based on what you're telling me right now, that conservatives should read it because they don't understand how liberals don't understand.
Right. It would be a lot less frustrating. It becomes a lot less frustrating to be a conservative if you understand how liberals think in clear terms.
Right.
Because then it makes it a lot less frustrating because you understand. Okay, look.
And maybe it would stop some arguments from happening.
It could. And that would be probably the best thing about knowing the information as a conservative is that, did you go down to the downstairs to that, did you blow that one place open?
In the desert? Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it would be good to prevent really contentious arguments that maybe cause people to lose friends or family members or whatever. Because I do think that a lot of times, conservatives can get frustrated by what they feel like is basically feigned ignorance from liberals, because it's hard to believe that somebody is so narrow-minded.
Right.
On this issue.
And so here's where we diverge from understanding to non-understanding, and that's when, because as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about liberals. I've got liberals in my mind, and I'm thinking about Jordan, and I'm thinking about my cousin Kelly, and I'm thinking about my Aunt Cheryl, these people that I love, and they love me, and they're but and it's really, it is. I'm starting to see now, maybe they are just doomed to that, but they are also susceptible to media lies, which is a real shame.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking about people like Rachel Maddow, who straight up just lie. They just lie. Mm-hmm. They lie for the sake of a narrative. And narratives are, I'm not going to say that the conservative side doesn't have narratives. We definitely do.
Sure.
But lying for the sake of narratives is nearly primarily a leftist thing.
Yeah, I would say that they do it more often. Yeah. It's like it's just like a standard tool in the tool bag.
Yeah. And that's why, but they might say the same thing about us. So I don't know, but
Well, they would be wrong. But I mean, look, I know there are people who do push false narratives and stuff.
And there are. I mean, you got the Quarter.
I would say
perfect example.
I would say, generally speaking, they would be wrong if their perception was that the conservative strategy is to lie about stuff, because I don't think that's accurate. It's the issue. The reason that the conservative strategy is not default to lie about stuff, but the liberal strategy does often default to lying about
stuff. Does that go to the sanctum?
It goes to the. Well, it's probably the fairness cheating foundation, because they think that it's more important to. They think that whatever the cause is more important than the truth factor of the thing that they're talking about, right?
So the ends justify the means.
Yeah, I'd have to think about it a little bit longer. I'm not sure which foundation it actually falls under. But one of the studies that they did was about how people felt about different ranges of people. Like, they did this thing where they were like, okay, they gauged people's sentiment with a survey about various different groups of people. So they would do like I forget what the actual question was, but basically it came down to like trying to figure out how much people had empathy for their close family members versus people that live in their town versus people that live in their state versus people that live in their country versus people that live in the world versus the entire universe. And they found that conservatives feel the most strongly, the most empathy about the people that are closest to them, and that liberals actually feel the most empathy for the people that are furthest away from them.
How much sense does that make, man?
It's the moral foundation. They feel more empathy for the more.
No, that's.
It's not. No. Just to be clear, it's not that they feel more empathy for people that are far, far away. They feel more empathy for the group, the larger group. So they feel more empathy for a large group that they feel are being harmed in some way, more than they do about individuals who might be harmed in some way.
I see, yeah.
So if your friend or your family member was being screwed over by something, they would feel bad about it, sure. Right. But if they perceive that an entire group somewhere in the world is being screwed, then that is much more important in their minds than your problem specifically. Whereas the conservative mindset is the exact opposite. The conservatives are most animated by the idea that something bad is happening to someone individually that they know, than a large group. The larger the group, the less conservatives feel empathy for the group, which means that conservatives are generally more concerned about their personal, close relationships than larger concepts, larger group identifications and stuff.
Yeah.
Which, to me, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The people that are closest to you are obviously the ones you care about the most, because they're the ones that are closest to you. So it doesn't.
The liberals are always the ones who are on about, they're
the women, starving the kids in Africa. There's the genocide going on in Rwanda.
Right.
Like, look, I get it. That's not good stuff, but it's not really my problem.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And they look at that and they go, you're cold and callous and evil because you don't care about that stuff. But it's like, no, I mean, look, I have an immense amount of empathy for the people that are close to me.
But it's not that I don't care either. I do care.
It's just that it's not the priority. Right.
It's not my place. It's not my priority.
It's not my top priority. If I could do something about it, if there was a way that I could have a meaningful effect on some horrible thing that's happening out there in the world, then sure, I would. I wouldn't say no. I don't give a fuck. But the thing is that in 9 times out of 10, you can't have a meaningful effect on something out there in the world that's happening, and you can have a meaningful effect on the things that are close to you, the people that are close to you.
Yeah, I mean, that plays perfectly into like why redistribution of wealth and things like that resonate with liberals, because they feel like one person, even myself, That's why I guess liberal billionaires exist, you know?
Yeah.
That, like, I shouldn't be entitled to all of this. My wealth should be redistributed to the people, the groups of people who need it.
Right.
Know? Those who are less fortunate than me or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that makes sense. And I can see moral validity in that if that is the way that you truly believe.
Right.
Even though I don't agree with it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Man, you're just
mind
fusion stones here all day, every
all
day.
over the place. My mind is being expanded as we speak.
You just read The Righteous Mind, bro.
Yeah.
It's a good read. It's very interesting. It's a very well-written book. Super interesting. You won't get bored at any point. It's not like a dull... Jonathan Haidt is a great writer.
Yeah.
He is a great writer. He's really engaging the way that he writes about what seems like would probably be really dry topics, right? Yeah, highly recommended. Just definitely read it. You can get it on Audible.
Yep. I need to fire up I got a problem, man.
What?
I got like 10 books on an Audible account that's tied to my Defender Direct email.
Why would you do that? Why would you have done that?
I did it back in Memphis, like way back in the day. I did it so that I could share, because I said I'm going to start an Audible account, and people would like, we all put money in a pot basically, and they pitched in so that I could get books, and we all shared that account.
Yeah.
For
just gotten a Gmail back in the day.
For like a book club thing that we had going on.
Yeah.
And I used my Defender Direct email because I wanted to keep it separate from my...
You should have just created a Gmail just for that.
I mean, sure, on hindsight, fine, but like this was 12, 13 years ago. So, but now I've got all these books that I'm going to lose because I don't have any way of accessing that account if I like sign out and sign in with a different account or something.
Well, wait, do you still have that account?
I do, because when I got this phone, I still worked for ADT, and my Defender Direct email was forwarded to my ADT email.
Can you not just go on Audible and change the email?
I've tried. It won't let me do it. I don't know, unless I just don't know how to do it. I can't, because I have to have access, because they're going to send a security code to my ADT email that I don't have access to anymore.
Well, I'm going to say something hilarious, and you're going to go, that's ridiculous. Why would you even say that? Have you considered calling their customer service?
That's ridiculous. Why would you consider saying that?
They don't have customer service with a phone number.
It's an email. It's an internet company. They don't have customer service.
Well, you don't know. They might have somebody you can chat with, like a AI bot you can chat with.
See, but the fact that I don't have access to the email anymore, I feel like is going to completely... It's just they're gonna be like, well, we can't prove it.
Well, it might be tied to your phone number, though. They might be able to send you a code to your phone number or something.
Maybe so.
I don't know if your phone number is tied to that account, but if it is,
it might be. I don't know. Yeah. Well, anyway, so I don't have any way of buying books on that Audible, and I don't have any way, as it currently stands, to sign out of that Audible on my phone without losing access to all the books I already have.
Well, but you said you only have like 10 books.
Yeah, well...
Who cares about those 10 books? I mean, let's be honest.
It's like $100 worth of books, man.
Yeah, but I mean, you bought them ages ago with other people's money. Who cares?
But what if I ever want to listen to one of those books again?
Why would you ever need to listen to those books again? They're like motivational speaking books, right? Don't you already know the knowledge that's
like
in there?
Financial investment type books.
Don't you already know the knowledge that's in there?
Yeah,
you've got it already. It's in your head.
I'm a hoarder, man. I'm the guy that doesn't use his healing items.
Why can't you? Why can't you buy books on there?
Do.
Why can't you put a new payment method on there and buy books?
Because then it's a lost cause. Because eventually I will get logged out of it, and it's like throwing money away at this point, right?
Well,
like, you think I should just like go ahead and just cut my losses now?
I would try to contact their support and see if they can give you send it to an just. Contact support and say, hey, look, I set this up under my work email a decade ago, and I don't work there anymore.
Access to it anymore. Yeah.
Can you help me?
Yeah, it's possible.
Can you not log into your email anymore? Have you tried?
I mean, we had to change our passwords every 90 days or whatever, so I'm assuming that my password has been...
I'm just saying, have you tried?
No, I haven't tried.
Because even though you probably don't have an SSO anymore, the email might still exist.
Yeah.
Or hell, you might still have an SSO, knowing how the security was at that company.
I bet
you might be able to log in.
I bet Steve still has access to Pulse.
Oh, I bet he does. What a joke.
Yeah, it really is like the security nightmare. What are you talking about?
Yeah. OPSEC. Awful operational security. They
are a security company whose security platform for millions of customers is compromised.
Yeah. Operational security is fucking terrible there.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? Apparently it hasn't been a problem so far. So.
Well, I mean, there was the problem of the one time that technician signed into like 1 million people's Pulse accounts and watched their cameras, but...
Oh, did that? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, were you not there when that happened?
But you know what? That's no big deal because he was like an employee at the time, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, see, this issue is totally different. It's that non-employees can access their old accounts.
True. Yeah, it's okay that a current employee watched people on their cameras.
No, that's not okay. That's the problem. But the issue we're talking about is not an issue because they don't even work there.
Oh, right.
That makes it okay, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that guy got unpaid leave for a week to get as punishment. No, he got fired. But
yeah. Anyway, get you some Righteous Mind on Audible. I'm telling you, it's a good book to read.
I will.
And then you know what? If you want to read another book that's really interesting after that, it's not from Jonathan Haidt, but well, actually, you know what? You should read another book from Jonathan Haidt, The Coddling of the American Mind. It's not as good as The Righteous Mind because it's more about colleges and how basically it was written like in the Coddling of the American Mind was written like at the beginning of the wokeness that we are experiencing now. So actually you should read it because it is interesting to understand how college campuses basically it's all about college campuses and how they are structured to basically produce poorly adjusted people.
Yeah.
They're like a machine
succeeding in that.
They're a machine to produce extremely poorly adjusted people. Because Jonathan Haidt is a professor. He's a professor of moral psychology at some school. I can't remember where he works, but anyway, and his book is about how college has changed and what's wrong with it and why it produces such weird people.
Yeah.
Now, brace yourself if you read The Coddling of the American Mind because it does contain the fine people hoax, and he did fall for it.
No way.
Yes.
No. That's not even a hoax to fall for. Like, if you do any amount of research.
I know.
Amount of research.
I know.
Dude,
I know.
That discredits him completely.
It doesn't, though. It doesn't discredit him.
How can it possibly not? I'm sure that he makes good points, but how can you take somebody seriously who didn't do enough research to listen to the fucking quote?
Because Jeremy, he is a professor of moral psychology, okay? He is off doing his studies in all of these different countries. He's off doing his moral psychology surveys
before he makes a claim.
He's doing all of this stuff, and he's writing this book about college campuses and how, and his book is excellent. The book about the college campuses, The Coddling of the American Mind, is excellent. But throughout the course of that book, in one of the parts that he's explaining about something, he does make the fine people claim as an example of something, but he does believe the claim because he uses it as an affirmatively true thing that he's using in an example. So it's a shame. It hurt my feelings that he fell for it. The issue is, and I am certain that this is what it is that Jonathan Haidt saw that on the news, and because he was just using this as an example for something else he was trying to talk about. The point was not to talk about the very fine people thing. That's not what the point of the chapter or the even bringing it up is. It was just used as like an offhand example in something else he was talking about.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that Jonathan Haidt just watched the news and saw that thing as being a thing that happened, and then experienced seeing his students talking about this thing, and he threw it in there as an anecdote in the book because it was something that he had experience with, and he never bothered to fact check it because it wasn't really important to him whether or not that was a true fact. That was a pretty good deal we got on that chest there.
I was really disappointed that I couldn't get the spread bow, but that was a better deal.
That was a steal of a deal there, bro. Listen, you know, that one chest gave you that curse that you have now.
Yeah.
But that's okay because you had the perseverance to go ahead and buy that other chest.
I don't even know what the curse is. Magic uses twice. I don't even have magic items. This curse is useless.
Don't you have a rod of some sort?
Yeah, but unless I want to go charge it, I'm not using magic with it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Listen, bro. I get why that hurts your fifis. It hurt my fifis as well. Okay, but it doesn't change.
It doesn't hurt my feelings.
It doesn't change the fact that his book is valuable and you should read it.
I'm not discrediting the fact that his book is valuable.
It's disappointing.
It is. It's disappointing. It's honestly. It really. Though,
it's not disqualifying though.
I agree. God, I'm having a hard time agreeing with you.
It's not disqualifying.
If I just
it has nothing to do with nothing to do with the truth claims of the studies that he has done into this topic and the theory that he has constructed about how morality works. It has nothing to do with it. It is a fact. It is a fact claim that he is wrong about, but it wasn't even the point of his book. If he was writing a book about Donald Trump's fine people hoax, I am certain that he would have done the research and determined that he wasn't going to write that book now.
It's called Donald Trump's Fine People Hoax.
And then the book goes.
That's what the book says.
Yeah, it was a hoax. It turns out I looked into this and he didn't say that.
Oh, fuck. I thought I had a healing item and I don't. Where'd my milk go? Did I use my milk?
You used it like a few minutes ago.
Damn it.
Anyway, look, the point that I'm making is that if his book actually was about that topic, then he wouldn't have made that mistake.
Yeah.
But the fact is that the book wasn't about that. It was just an anecdote that he threw into the book.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that he was wrong about it, okay? It is a shame, and it bummed me out whenever I read it. But that is not relevant to what is being said in the book.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't discredit the book just because he got that wrong, because it's not critical to the argument at all. It was just something that, as a liberal, Jonathan Haidt was watching the news and he saw that thing, and that became part of his understanding of the universe. And when he starts putting together his book, where he's recounting his various different things that he has experienced as a teacher in college, as a professor in college, and all of these different concepts that he's trying to go over about how colleges work and what is going on the American college campus and why there's so much wrong with it, and he throws in this anecdote. It's just an anecdote. He's just wrong about this anecdote, but it doesn't have anything to do with the overall claim.
I get it. So all I'm getting at is it would hold a lot more water for me if he had done his research and either represented it accurately or not at all, because now what you're describing to me is somebody who just believed whatever he saw on the news. I mean, he saw it on the news and therefore believed it, and that's disappointing, especially when you're dealing with somebody like Donald Trump, who they continually lie about and twist his words. Everybody and anybody knows that, who is intelligent enough to understand anything, right?
Right, yeah. But to be fair, this book was written in 2012, 2017 or something. This was written like right at the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency, whenever everybody was crazy.
Yeah, true.
Like, this wasn't like deep into this where it had been debunked over and over and over again, and you should know by now.
I would like
this
to
was
know.
like in
I
the
would like
middle
to
of
know
the media.
now if he still agrees with, or still believes that.
I don't know if he's ever been asked this question in any kind of interview setting or anything like that.
I'm just saying that I'd be interested to know now if he still, believes that.
Yeah. I don't know, but my point is that I think at the time it was still fresh. The wound was fresh. Yeah. This had just happened, and it was an anecdote he threw into his book about how his students reacted to the situation.
Yeah. And
his information about the situation is wrong, which I read the book in like 2022, I think. 2021 or 2022. And so to me, it was highly disappointing because that thing had been so discredited and debunked by everyone.
Right, by that time.
Except for MSNBC.
Yeah, of course, who are still spouting it right now, today.
But to me, it was extra disappointing. But then I thought about it. I was like, well, this book was written years and years ago. This had not been so thoroughly debunked at the time.
Yeah.
People just had seen clips, and the news had played clips, and that was basically what the knowledge of anybody who didn't actually see the full interview or the full statement knew.
Yeah.
So
it's so blatant, man. It's so in your face, and I'm not talking about him anymore. I'm just talking about that claim. It's like right there in your face if you want to see it. The literal quote is, you have very fine people on each side, on both sides.
On all sides.
I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists. They should be condemned totally.
Yes, but
outside, and then again he reiterates, he said, but outside of the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists,
there were very fine people who were protesting the taking down of a statue.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
I mean, dude, like the Liz Cheney thing, I was like, when I heard that for the first time, I was like, oh, he's done it now. He's done it now. I even
he assassinated Liz Cheney.
He killed Liz Cheney. He shot Liz Cheney in the face with 9 guns at the same time. And then I listened to it, and it's like, guys, what the hell?
Well, I recall there's a song about this called Fortunate Son. They love to play that song, and anything that's in the Vietnam, period piece in the Vietnam era gets Fortunate Son. And Fortunate Son's lyrics say the exact same fucking thing that Trump said.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's that the politicians.
If the politicians are so strong on war when the guns are pointed at their face.
The left understands this. This is their argument.
Right.
Yeah, it's stupid. They're playing dumb.
I mean, I seriously feel like I'm gonna blow a blood. My mind sees my face as that liberal from 2016 going.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That I see myself in that person. When I hear these repeated hoaxes and lies, I'm like, this is the face that my brain is making right now.
Oh, hell yeah. How much magic do I have? How many rupees do I get out of this deal?
I think this might be early on. This might be a good, this is your early game investment into your rupees. However, it's taking up an inventory slot, and you won't get a return on your investment for quite a while. So,
well, how much magic do I get per rupee? How much rupees do I get?
You'll probably get 3. You'll probably hit it 3 times for 10 rupees with the.
I do have this rod. What is this one? Rod of bombs. Is this useful?
I mean, it one hits enemies and turns them into a bomb that blows up other enemies.
Yeah, you know what?
Them.
I'm gonna keep my magic because I've got this rod. So if I need to charge it, I feel like this is probably a better deal is to just hold on to my rod and use it and not waste my magic on rupees.
I'd say the rod of bombs is one of the more one of the more interesting rods because it's not as straightforward as like the rupee rod.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I don't think that's
Nah,
I don't think that's
so.
the thing. I'm gonna skip that.
The ruby rod is like you shoot an enemy, they turn into rubies. And this, they turn into ignited bombs. So if you're in a room with a lot of enemies and you hit one of them, it turns them into a bomb that hits all the rest of them, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, nice.
And as far as I know, you can go pick up the bomb and it puts it out, and then you can collect it.
What? That's pretty cool.
So
let's try it.
Yeah, try it. But be close to him so you can get there in time. Pick it up. Now put it down with X. And then, yeah, you can pick it up.
Now I got my bomb supply under control here.
Yeah. And you've got a one-hit kill with the bomb rod, so it's a 2-for-1 deal, you know?
Yeah. Seems like a pretty good deal to me. Bro, are you sure you can move these blocks?
You can,
I've never...
There's just certain arrangements of them that allow it.
I've never actually seen it happen.
It will happen eventually, and it'll be a chest that has a curse in it, probably. Oh, you missed your key.
Okay, so I was gonna tell you, so not Coddling of the American Mind. Although you should read it, even though it's got the Trump, got the
I've heard the hoax many a time.
Okay, so the other one that you should read that doesn't have anything to do with morality, like moral psychology, but it is very interesting and has to do with history and political institutions and government and things like that are very interesting, worthwhile to read, would be the book Why Nations Fail. Fantastic book. So interesting. It goes through tons of historical information about... What the fuck?
How much health did you have?
No, it's not the health. I was hitting the guy over and over again, and he was not taking damage.
Oh, wow.
And I got so close to him that I took contact damage off of him, and that's what killed me, was taking contact damage.
Down from...
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the hitbox when you're facing down.
Really?
Yeah, you can hit enemies. It's not like a... No, go ahead. That was unfair. It's not an impossibility to hit an enemy, but it's way harder to hit them facing down.
That was so weird, because I was like right up on him and just slashing, and it was doing nothing. Anyway, Why Nations Fail is fantastic. It goes through... tons of interesting history about world governments in the past, and how liberal... like proper liberalism, like proper good, like classical liberal.
Yeah.
Institutions are like super powerful, and explain why we are so successful in America and why the Western world is so successful compared to other, parts of the world.
Right.
And gives you a lot of insight into how different types of regimes in the past and the present work, and why they don't work. It's, communism BTFO'd by literally like the physical properties of the universe, basically. And it's just great. Why Nations Fail is fantastic. It gives you such a broad understanding of why inclusive democratic institutions are so important to having a successful society, period.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just that it's like good, like human rights, whatever. The point is that in order to have a successful, prosperous society, you have to have the, classical, liberal, democratic institutions, inclusive institutions. It's total takedown of like monarchies, autocracies, all that sort of stuff, oligarchies, just owned by the literal facts about how the world works.
So how what is the explanation for why the monarchy in England has been so long standing?
Oh, because it's not really a monarchy.
Not anymore, but it was.
Yeah, but no, but England is so fascinating because not really.
It was the English Empire. They took over the world. I mean,
well, no, it was the British Empire.
British.
And
Empire.
it's very important. Listen, Jeremy, the British / English history of constraining the monarch and increasing the power of the populace is a long, slow history of the populace gaining more and more power against the monarch, and developing the inclusive institutions that made them durable.
Right.
They're one of the few cases in world history where the monarchy was slowly eroded in such a way that they never overthrew it. They just built the inclusive institutions that you need to be successful as a society slowly over time. And they're kind of like, and they're not the only one. They're not the only blueprint for this. Like, it's interesting. There's actually, reading that book is so fascinating because it proves to me something that I already knew intuitively, but it's kind of like how The Righteous Mind proved to me something that I already knew intuitively about how I can understand how liberals think, but they can't understand how I think.
Right.
It proved to me this idea that time is not a perfect, like, time, people think of time and progress as being like locked together in a perfect linear progression, like as time moves on, we get progress occurs.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. If you read that book, they go into all of these different past societies that have had different levels of inclusive institutions where they have had things that appear similar to our modern conception of how government works, and they have had prosperity based on those things that they lose at some point.
Right. Well,
and Italy is the big one. Italy had this system that was almost like it was almost like a completely inclusive system where economically you could rise to whatever station. There was like no classes or anything at one point because they had this economic system based on shipping in Venice.
Right.
It was this shipping based system where anybody could like become a noble person by getting into the mercantile operations in Italy. And they were super prosperous as a culture until all of a sudden, at some point, that system collapsed and they just completely went back, totally went backwards as a society.
Yeah.
The class structure got rigid again, and there was no way for a common person to have any kind of success anymore.
Yeah.
After a certain point, and it was just like, it just goes to show you that time does not inevitably progress towards.
I mean, obviously, that's a pretty. I would say that is that should be pretty apparent to anybody that it doesn't necessarily mean that we are progressing all the time just because time is moving forward.
Right.
I mean, I've often wondered about like a kind of a reset point in human history where possibly there's a time before recorded history where we may have been more advanced or more intelligent, more not intelligent necessarily, but more like socially intelligent, and then we lost all of that at some point, or like, we lost a lot of intelligence in the what was it, the library,
Library of
Alexandria, yeah. And like how much culture, how much progress have we made as a society before we lost a whole lot of it? Like,
right.
I've often wondered, like, could there have been like a reset point in human existence where we are just coming back from that point?
Yeah.
Not technologically necessarily. I'm sure they didn't have iPhones and shit, 10,000 years ago, but like. Or we'd find evidence of electronic devices or whatever, or maybe some other type of technology that we don't have anymore that's lost to the ages because,
like alien technology, like whenever they built the pyramids.
How they built it? Well, I mean, how the fuck did they build the pyramids? How did they build the pyramids?
I don't know.
I don't believe that a bunch of weakened, starved Israelite slaves are the.
Well, no,
the
that's
actual...
not how they built pyramids. That's definitely not how.
Well, that's what we were taught. So.
Yeah, but that's not true though. That is untrue.
No, but there is lost technology.
Motherfucker, get over here.
How did they build the pyramids? How was the Sphinx built? Like, how, these massive monuments, Stonehenge, and things like that.
Right.
Like, there's got to be some lost technology that we don't know about.
Some of the most interesting lost technology is if you look at I think it's in Chile. There's these ruins that are like stone.
You're talking about the birds, the Nazca ruins.
No, not those. No, there are these, but those are interesting
those
too
are
because of the
as hell, man. The sheer size and scope of them.
The size and scope of them, and the fact that they were mapped out without being able to see them.
An aerial view.
The concept to create them is kind of strange whenever you don't have any kind of aerial view. But no, it's actually
seen those the way that we see them.
Right.
Yeah.
It suggests that they had mathematical understanding that was beyond what you would expect.
Yeah.
At the time.
Easter Island Easter Island statues.
No, there's this. What do I need to do? No, I'm not going to buy anything from you. Well, wait, hold on. 4 sodas for $65? Is that bad?
That's a deal.
That seems like a pretty good deal to me.
Yeah.
Let me see. What do I need to? What do I have that I can get rid of?
Map or the green thing.
But the map tells me where the stuff is.
You could drink the green potion.
Nah, I don't want to do that. Well, actually, hold on. Do I want to do that? This gives me all my magic.
You could drop the arrows. You don't need those right now.
True. Yeah, I'll just drop the arrows and I'll keep the map. Now, there's this one place in Chile, I believe, where there are these ruins that are like these perfect carvings that are like perfectly like flat, perfectly smooth, like stone carvings and stuff that are so like precisely done that it's like they appear to have been created with like machine tools of some sort out of stone. But we have no idea.
You don't remember the name of the ruins?
I can't remember what they're called. I could probably find them.
This kind of stuff like equally creeps me out and gets me excited about the past, like the history of what could be, what could have been, how the hell did this stuff actually come about. Like, there clearly was a mathematical level or a genius level of mathematician at that time. Like,
right.
Our science and technology has only just caught up with what we already know. It's like, astronomy has been a science for hundreds of years. Mathematics, geometry, trigonometry, hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah.
It's it does speak to the intelligence of ancient people.
Sure. One of the interesting things that you can look at for a modern example of lost technology is that back in the 60s, right? Mm-hmm. We went to the moon, right?
Yeah.
We did go to the moon, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Just to be clear.
Well, Dad didn't believe it, but
no, Dad came around. He was.
Did he?
He just went.
He went through a phase.
Yeah. So in the 60s, we went to the moon, right? And we did it using a we did it using a rocket called the Saturn V, right?
Yeah.
Badass, super awesome rocket. Mm-hmm. Well, so the Saturn V rocket had the Saturn V rocket ran on Rocketdyne F1 engines, the largest, most powerful engines ever built.
Yeah.
Period. When they were working on the SLS launch system that they have built right now to go for the Mars mission that NASA's working on right now, they went back and did a study on restarting production of the having like a new production of the Rocketdyne F1 engine because they thought, well, you know, that engine is extremely powerful, very capable for the moon missions, and we need to get to the moon anyway, so what if we built a new version of that engine?
Yeah.
And they determined that we don't know how to build it anymore, because a lot of the techniques that were used to build these engines were welding techniques, manual welding techniques that human welders did to construct these complex like nozzle structures and stuff like that, and that we actually have gone so far into automated machining for different things that people that have the skill set to know how to do this don't exist in the workforce anymore. And they said that a lot of the stuff that was done on the F1 engines are not in the blueprints. They were knowledge that were in the heads of the people who worked constructing them, because the blueprints only contain the technical drawings. The actual process of constructing them, the way that you put them together in order to weld them all together, that was knowledge that the welders who worked in the production line knew in their heads, and they went back to, they actually found some of these old codgers that had worked in those lines before. And they were like, man, I don't remember. Like, none of these people couldn't construct like a complete enough understanding of how to build the engine. And they basically determined that the only way we could build the engine would be to completely and utterly redesign it from the ground up. So we wouldn't even be building this engine anymore. We'd be building a modern version of it that's actually an entirely different engine. Yeah. That is designed around modern manufacturing techniques. But the point is that we have actually lost a technological knowledge base to build something in a particular way, because we've gone so far away from that method of building, so we can't even build that design anymore. And the thing about it that's interesting is that we have modern technologies that we could design a new engine with similar performance for, but we can't even adapt that design, which we have the design, we have the blueprints, we know what the shape and size and specs of everything that should go in that engine are, but we literally don't have the technique to build it.
That's nuts. You know, it's funny too. So is welding? I'm not familiar with it. I would assume that it is an apprenticeship type trade, and so therefore its techniques are passed from a master to apprentice. And
we've lost a full generation. We've lost multiple generations of master apprentice.
Right. So,
which means the cycle's broken. That knowledge will never come back.
But it broke in one generation, which means that you know, to our point about ancient knowledge and ancient intelligence and things, a lot of that obviously was spoken word. Spoken word history, spoken word mythology, spoken word technique and science and you know, probably technology that nobody will ever know of the existence of.
Right.
That's just gone forever. There's so much progress probably that happened before it was able to be written down.
Yes.
That we'll never ever know.
That's
and
the crazy thing.
Archaeologists are digging up crazy shit that we don't even know how we would do today.
Right.
You know, that is, I mean, who knows what humankind has done. Right. That we just don't know about.
The thing about it is that you would think that, oh, well, if they had advanced mathematics, if a society at some point in history had advanced mathematics, then surely they also had written language. But there's no reason to necessarily assume that those are true. Right. Yeah, so just because there was advanced mathematics in a particular culture doesn't mean that they developed the technology, the different technological path of written language.
Think about aqueducts and flushing toilets and plumbing in ancient Rome. That required high level of mathematics.
Yeah.
Like mathematics.
Oh, the Romans were total
level.
Mathematicians. They were definitely great at math.
There's, but and think about Babylon, like the ruins that at Babylon. They've dug up so much. They've dug up a lot of evidence or like tablets that had stuff written on them that are that their society ran much like a modern society today.
Yeah.
Like with the way that they like lent money, took interest on loans and invested for returns and things like that. There's a lot of evidence that
the Babylonian stonk market.
Yeah, right. And it's like, you read these stories about like sheep traders and camel traders and like all this stuff, and it's like that was just a capitalist society that's prehistoric. That's like, or not prehistoric because we have written tablets and basically clay tablets that outline certain things. But, translated by the Hammurabi Code or whatever. And but it's incredible to like look at that and like what ancient Babylon, that's like it's 5000 AD or something, and you can look back and literally see that they were running society like we currently do in the United States today. It's like, it's crazy. Like they figured it out, then it was lost to time, then we figured it out again.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't take very long for something to get lost.
Right.
You would think that it's easy to assume that knowledge, once it's gained by a society, is durable.
Yeah.
But knowledge is actually extremely fragile because the way that you store the knowledge is highly susceptible to loss. And so, like, the fact is that, like, with the example of the welding of the engine, right?
Yeah.
That was taken for granted that people would just know. It was taken for granted. Not for granted, okay?
Yeah.
It was taken for granted that people would just know this information. So nobody ever thought that we would need to like actually record it.
Yeah.
And this was in the 1960s.
Oh yeah. I mean,
so now there's an entire art form of, and here's the thing. It is easy to get new technologies. Let's say computer-aided design. Let's say CNC machining, right?
Yeah.
You get these techniques that we look at them and then we go, okay, this is the better way to do this. So it becomes really easy to cast off the old technology because you have something new that you say, this is better.
Yeah.
So we don't need the old thing anymore. Until you run into a situation where the new thing is not suitable because the old thing is actually what we need.
Yeah, yeah.
But if it's too late, it's too late. You might not be able to get the old thing.
Right, it's true.
So
yeah, progress is not always progress. I mean, in a lot of cases, I think that what we call progress today is regression.
Right.
It's regression into the future, but it's still regression. I think that, fully automating so many things and the advent of the electric car and things that are eventually going to cause us major problems. I mean, progress. Windmills are not progress. Windmills are regression. They're bad.
Yeah.
Think about this from an environmental standpoint. Windmills. You've got these trashy ass windmill farms for thousands of miles, square miles out in the west. When we're driving to Colorado and we're seeing just endless windmills.
Yeah. Endless,
empty, vacant land filled up with these dystopian windmills.
Yeah.
That freaking, they kill birds. And I think Rogan was talking about this with Elon Musk when he did the Musk interview a couple of days ago, and they were talking about the windmills that not only does it kill birds, but like these things break down constantly. What do you do with the scraps, with the trash? You bury them in a landfill.
Yeah, I think we talked about this when we were on our trip to Colorado, and I was talking about how they don't have a way to recycle the blades for these windmills.
So it's exponentially worse for the environment than any piddly amount of. And of course, you were talking about how they catastrophically fail and they, they burn up and they, and like they they catastrophic fail.
They go into these runaway situations.
Yeah, they explode, and like it's causing so much more harm than good. But because of virtue signaling, we still have to like continue to put these things out.
When what we really should be doing is going nuclear.
Exactly. Well, think about how much nuclear energy could be produced on that amount of land.
Right.
Enough to run the entire world.
Yeah, nuclear's energy density is incredible compared to all other forms of energy production.
And what I don't understand is that's a freaking desert, man. So if you're going to do any sort of green renewable energy, why is it not solar?
I don't know. Well, it's probably because a lot of that is in Oklahoma. A lot of the windmills we saw was in Oklahoma,
Texas, and some in New Mexico, I think.
I don't think so. I don't think we had any. I don't think there were any windmills in New Mexico. I think it was mainly Oklahoma that we saw the windmills in.
Okay.
And the reason is because they do have a lot of wind. I mean, it's very windy there. So you do have the resource of wind that you can harvest with windmills. So it does make sense if you're gonna virtue signal with some windmills. That's definitely the place to do it because there's so much wind going around.
It's wild to me that Oklahoma, the reddest state in the union, cares about virtue signaling with windmills.
Well, I think it probably has to do with federal subsidies that make it viable for these companies to build a bunch of windmills.
Yeah.
That's probably what it comes down to, is federal subsidies.
Right.
But anyways, that's all going to change now because we got Donald Trump. I'm voting Donald Trump, baby. I mean, it's over. You voted?
Oh shit! I didn't vote. Oh no!
All right, we'll catch you later, guys.
Later, guys. Bye.